Hello, welcome everybody to Wednesday night at the crib. Um, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. I wasn't. We'll talk about the raid at the end of the show in case nobody wants to talk about that for a while, and that'll be the freeform portion of the show. But we'll get the new information out sooner, and we won't review the raid till the end of the show. I'm joined today from left to right, Dr. Death.
Hello.
And Grimace.
What's up, y'all?
So I guess I should go ahead and start with the slides. And yeah, we can move forward one. We have today's bug fixes. Fix an issue with zombie turrets and the event targets. I assume what they mean by that is the turrets that. Oh wait, no, it's the other issue. I guess this is the issue where you kill the. I don't know. They don't do a good job of explaining stuff. It's either some of the turrets fired after they died, or the issue with if you accidentally clicked on a box where the turret was, it would freeze your fleet.
That's the one I think they're talking about.
Yeah, you would have to.
See, I thought because I noticed that right there at the end of the raid when I was doing my last little hits, because I wasn't coining the repair, so I'd repair and then come back. But right there at the end, when at the start of the raid, when I would retreat and come back in, those capital ships that had the turrets on them would have the turrets back, but they wouldn't take as many hits to kill them. It'd be the base had been reset, as if you'd hit the base.
Yeah, like it was. Yeah, it would be like mini, zombie repair. That makes sense. So maybe that's what was going on. Fix an issue where the Scorpion Sting campaign would not allow mana cores at one point. Yeah, this was after the update. It also wouldn't allow Phoenixes in. I don't think it let anything in there for a little while. So I think that only lasted for about 45 minutes, but it was, it was near the time when it was should have been over. So that might have been stressful for some people. Fixed an issue where Phoenix and Skyfire halls were unable to use tokens once retrofitted.
I'm still hearing some people say that they can't, that it's still not working for them.
I don't know. I haven't tried. I have some refits on my Phoenix. I think what happens is once a ship gets refitted, it has a different ID. So therefore, the tokens need to be associated with the ID because, like an R0 Phoenix, I think by the programming is considered to be a whole different ship than an R1 or R2 or R3 Phoenix. So that's probably what the origin of that was.
That's very possible.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on to the next one. Yeah, it appears that this week we are not going to get the corrosive and penetrative resistors that everybody needs to finish their builds. They're not in. Go ahead.
They did say they will be back out next week.
Yeah, that's the next click on the slide.
Oh, sorry. No. Want me to click?
Sure, either that or people can figure out why I put that picture up. But
I got you.
Yeah. So we will see those next week. So it does delay people finishing their mana core builds by a week.
It's a pretty big
oversight.
Seems like
if it is an oversight,
right?
Yeah, I thought you would get that board. Yeah, that one's right up your alley. So yeah, that's 7 of 9's not in costume in the background. So all right, or in a different costume. How about that? Let's move on to the next one.
Damn Star Trek nerds.
VXP weekend.
Is that what it's from? Sorry, I'm showing my utter disregard for that. But
yeah, the Borg would say the resistance is futile, and we will be assimilated and whatnot. And that woman was the one of the Borg that. Well, we don't need to get too much into that, but yeah, she's ex-Borg.
709.
Yep. So VXP weekend looks pretty much like last VXP weekend.
Well, the big question the big question I think the panel needs to answer is this: and how many? Do you really have anything to rank after the flop of the raid?
Yeah. I mean, some people do. We'll get into how many people actually have stuff to rank. And also, are people out there building a second mana core fleet? And this gives them an opportunity to rank them. This should be interesting as far as, because I think VXP weekend is a moneymaker for Kixeye. Are they going to see some negative feedback associated with the fact that a lot of people weren't able to earn halls? So we'll see.
And a lot of people don't have a lot of people were banking on getting those tokens so they'd be able to crank out a couple more mana cores so they could get that second fleet going. And without the extra tokens in the raid, they couldn't do it,
Yeah.
I have one ship. It's the flagship. That's all I have to rank. So.
Yeah, I have the flagship. I still haven't ranked my my Mauler, and I have an extra missile storm cruiser I need to rank. I know you can rank them with the tokens, but I hate collecting titanium. I do have Conqueror tokens, but this VXP weekend is a lot like last VXP weekend. And if you do have, a missile storm cruiser or an onslaught that you need to rank up or is already ranked up, especially if it doesn't have armor on it, it's just like last time. What you do is you use your tier 7 Conqueror, missile storm cruiser, or Mauler or onslaught to tank all the damage from the incoming ships, but still have enough weaponry on your mana core or your, I forget her name, Mankara's or whatever her name is, the flagship or whatever you're trying to rank up, have them behind that ship, but close enough to fire and do damage to them. And if your Conqueror is not ranked or doesn't have armor on it, it's only a half-hour repair as opposed to hours of repair that you would get with your regular ship, and will last much longer.
Just don't put the ships that, like your other ships that are sitting behind, don't put them too close because everything has splash.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of be a certain distance back to not get splashed, but you got to be close enough to do damage.
Yeah, or even put them at an angle, or don't have them sitting directly behind it, but give yourself, depends on the size of your monitor, an inch behind or whatever, because they do rush in, and they will try to run over your ship for some reason. Doesn't really match up with their armament that I can tell that well, except for maybe the invisible scatter gun. Maybe that prevents you from getting out of the way of it if they get on top of you. But that's the easiest way to rank up your mana core or mana core flags in this type of setup. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Oh my. Well, starting yesterday, we saw new Legion targets. We're gonna have a 1 month transition to the last siege targets. And well, we'll get to the positive side first. You can currently now use base parts to upgrade anything in your base that was associated with Outpost level 10, which is, so rush out and get your turrets up as high as you can, but remember your bubble pad, and try and be smart about the way you do it. The issue is that the new Legion targets seem to just melt people when they looked at them, and they've been pulled from the map. So if anybody's seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they opened the Ark of the Covenant, that's what seemed to happen to a lot of people's ships, according to what I can tell. But it seems they got rewarded for that. One more click. So anyone that hit one of the Legion targets will get not only a 24-hour repair token, but a 24-hour build token. Where was this generosity during the raid? I mean, I can understand a 24-hour repair token. That's cool. But a day build token? Which would have
surprised me. This is the first I've seen this. I did not see this.
Okay.
Yeah, but my advice to everybody, because I think Kix is on a path where they're wanting mandatory damage out of other targets now. They're wanting it to be impossible to do them on the cheap. So my recommendation is anybody that can get out and hit the old Scourge targets, so you get as much done in your base as you can before they disappear.
Yeah. And this also means does anybody recall the exact date or month that we got OP10?
Wasn't it in October?
Yeah, I thought it was later in the year. I was agreeing with you. Grimace, you thought it was earlier.
I thought it would, but that doesn't mean anything. I think all kinds of things. So,
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like August or something, like September. But October sounds good too. I'll go with October. That's fine.
Yeah, I thought it was late. I can't remember the exact date, and I didn't. With my current situation with the forums, I have a hard time looking things up. So, yeah, I agree with Dr. Death's recommendation. Go out there, and if you have your Buccaneers, you have a decent Buccaneer fleet, just send it at the 103. Don't even peek it. Don't even look inside of it. Just throw it in there blind, and you're going to end up with 300 base parts. And if you want instant repair in your dock, or you can hit a bunch of them and hit 4 of them and stock up, and you're going to have some repair time at that point. But if you bring them right back, it's usually less than 5 minutes per ship. So yeah, it would be the time to stock up at this point before they change over and become either more difficult or more monotonous. The Legion Siege 105 is one of the Buccaneer S targets. So we at least know that you'll probably have to drive. Who knows? We don't know what the damage levels are going to be. After what happened.
I want to say something directed at Kix. Can I say something directed at Kix about all this?
Sure, go ahead.
You guys need to change your fucking policy. If you guys want players engaged and you want players getting into PvP and everything else, then these base parts should be able to be used to start a building as well as upgrade it. Because there's a lot of players out there that still don't have their second dock even started yet, and they can't use base parts for that.
Okay, so if you mean your second shipyard, your Conqueror shipyard.
Yeah.
I think they can use they can get it down from 42 days to 33 days with base parts. I think you can.
They even officially came out in the thread that was discussing it on forums and stated no, that you cannot use base parts to start a new building.
Yeah, because you have that problem with the portal as well.
That's weird because I saw a post earlier. They were talking about it, and people were saying they were getting it down to 33 days with base parts.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do. Yeah, I don't know because I know we had that problem with the portal. Like you could use base parts to upgrade your portal from level 1 to level 2, but you couldn't use base parts to start it. So I don't know. I haven't. Mine's been built a long time ago, and I'm not certain what the situation is.
My base is done. I have nothing left to upgrade in my base. So, but I'm hearing from other players in the game that are pissed off that they can't use the base parts for that second shipyard.
Okay. Alrighty. I guess let's move on to the next. All right. Repeat TLCs. Path to the Continent, which is it's co-op that allows players to, like a lower level player at this point to start something and then let somebody else come in and do it. First one's Assault. I actually think this is the most difficult, at least for me, because using Phoenixes is how I was doing this one. I'm not sure. I'm assuming the Mana Cores, since they suck in the 85s, I'm assuming they suck in this as well. I don't know. And then Skirmish. The Skirmish is the 89 target, which is easy enough to do with Fangtooth. And then the final one is the Siege targets, which works really well with Buccaneers. And you can win Buccaneer tokens using Buccaneer ships. But I still have a ton of these tokens left over personally. But I guess it doesn't hurt to do it. It's one encounter per, so it's not painful. It's not one of those seven encounter things. So there you go. I don't like the fact that they keep on introducing TLCs at the same time. It's a damage management thing right now, because right now we have VXP weekend, which is generally nothing but damage. We have the first week of the FM with all the prizes in there, with all the additional damage we're taking. Now we're getting two TLCs when they should be giving us the Mega TLC. The Mega TLC in the first week, in my mind, makes the most sense, because next week we'll probably get the Mega TLC and nothing else that damages our fleets. I guess it's intentional, but it's not player friendly.
Well, we'll have Bounty next week too.
Yeah, we'll have Bounty next week. But yeah, there won't, I don't know. We'll probably have the Mega TLC. Which is fine, but
which is kind of dumb, because for those alliances that are using their megas for bounty, they have to, if they're going to do the TLC, they have to take it away from that. But of course, most of those people probably have a well-built mega that can do the TLC pretty easily and quickly and get right back out on the ocean.
I just don't know the value that the Buccaneer is going to have going forward, since we already know that Kixeye is planning to change the dubs, and the Buccaneers are useless in the new targets that they're rolling out for the base parts. So
no, wait, they're useless in those targets?
Man, they got chewed up.
Well, those targets were broken. That's why they pulled them off the map so quickly.
Right, but let's look at the way Kixeye is changing things on the FM. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're not useless. They're probably the best thing we have. They may not be as good as we want them to be, but what else? We have the Hydras, and we have, which is going to be the next slide. We may not like the amount of damage that we're taking, but I wouldn't say they're useless, because we don't have anything better. So
that's true. That's true, but I don't know if the damage doesn't come down significantly. My Sega shipyard may just stop building, because I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's base parts, but okay. All right. Hydras Hollow, which is the other siege ship, and it's got a lot of build tokens in it. I still have 15 Blood Hydra tokens left over from the last one. So,
what is anybody getting with the Hydras?
Well, I'm assuming that once we get these new siege targets out, the new base parts targets, that might be an option of what to do with them.
You can do damn it, what are those things called? Expeditions with them too.
Yeah, it's all sorts of fun. But these are out there, and this is the one that can be done with for skirmish fleets. You can do with Fangtooth or a prototype hunter combined with some or prototype Tightseeker, combined with the some hunters for very reasonable damage. This is one of the skirmish ones that's been redone and not as awful as like March to War or some of these other ones that are just painfully tedious and awful. So, okay. But yeah, I would recommend doing it because it's not that much damage, but you know. All right, the new FM. This is the prize that I think a lot of people have been sort of waiting for. And I don't think it's what everybody thought it was going to be. It's a significant increase in ballistic and penetrative deflection over the MC1. It has an equip cap of 2 and similar armor points and repair duration. So, yes. And she is wearing hammer pants. It's hard to find a girl wearing hammer pants at this point in time. But that's the connection there, people. So let's click on it. Well, let's take a little. Let's talk about the MC Plate 2 and how we might use it. One more click, Premise.
Throw it in the trash. No.
Click. One more click. Am I on mute? There we go. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. I equipped an MC Plate 2 to a missile storm cruiser. I put 2 of the MC2s and 3 of the MC1s. A very, very extremely lopsided build. All it's intended to do is stop Howie 2s and Executioner 2s. And then as you move over to the upper right, the middle top, you'll see ballistic deflection numbers, penetrative deflection numbers, and then below, we're even throwing in the Mauler, adding 70,000 deflection. So if you're attacking a base while you have this ship equipped with this way, which is not a recommended way by any stretch of the imagination, you've gone whole hog after ballistic and penetrative. You know, as you look at on the right hand side, the critical damage from a Howie. You start off with just an equipped Howie. You know, you put the heavy ballistic shells and whatnot, and then I'm including the bonus from one of them. You get 666,000 damage. Okay, not even close. You get the tier 7 bonus, assuming you have 4 of these and 4 Howies and 2 blunderbusses. Now you're up to 2 million. Then you add in fire support 5, and now you're up to 4,090,000. Basically 4 million. With net, now you're getting in that neighborhood. You know, now you're starting to do some damage. Then you throw on the faction. So basically, every critical hit, and the Howie fires at every half a second, assuming you don't have reload or other bonuses on it, and it's you're doing basically you're gonna kill this ship in 2 to 3 shots, 920,000 damage. And we'll do the same thing with the Executioner. It's the same thing. And the weird part, the unhappy part about this is, besides the equipped Howie, that first line, the tier 7 bonus is not calculated correctly in your base. The fire support is not calculated correctly inside of your base. And they give you numbers that you have to work with, that are wrong, and you have to do a whole bunch of spreadsheets and whatnot to figure out what the damage is, which is not good. I mean, that's but whatever. And then, you know, same thing with the executioners. You basically 350,000 damage per shot. And besides all the information being wrong and the fact that this is a really unbalanced build, if you took this into a normal base, you think if you went this unbalanced at this point in time, you would at least be able to stop these damage types. Because if somebody has a Vanquisher with throwers, a Hope with rockets on it, especially if you had some flails. I took all the flails off of mine, but it would just crush these ships.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that even a lopsided build meant to kill, basically defend against one thing, isn't working. You know, now your ship is done in, you know, 2 or 3 shots. You know, base hitting has been dead for basically 3 weeks, and this extends it for another week. This is what everybody thought was going to be coming out last week, and they had higher hopes for it than what we're seeing right now.
I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think this armor was meant for the current Conqueror hulls that we have. I think this armor is meant for the next Conqueror hull coming out in Bounty.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally think that we haven't talked about the raid yet, and we'll talk about that later. But I think the difficulty of that raid is associated with the fact that they aren't making the money that they want to off of the PvP engagement that players have. And so they pushed it onto the PvE environment more heavily than they did normally. And that's basically because they've shut down PvP amongst the higher ranked players. As you notice, all of the towers and things on that side are whoever's making that noise, please stop. But higher ranked players that basically have everything, and they've gone all in on this weapon. But at the same time, like I said, this is a very fragile ship. So I don't know. I don't understand. Did they get the numbers wrong? Did they misunderstand something? But it doesn't make any sense to me. So, does anybody else have any thoughts on this? Hey, Rum, how are you doing?
Good. How's everybody?
Hey, Rum. You know what it could be? You know what it could be? Because, you know, I'm not going to... It could be that Kixeye actually listened to us, and this was their attempt to keep from swinging the pendulum again.
But it's not... It doesn't create a balanced situation at all.
No, it don't create a balanced situation. I'm just saying they looked at it and said, okay, well, if we make this too powerful right after the raid, then, of course, then the pendulum's going to swing chaotic again, and we're still in that every week it's swinging cycle. They may be trying to extend it out just a little bit, possibly.
Yeah, but now they're going to go for a month without
too much credit, but you know.
Well, but what I'm saying is what I was trying to say at the beginning. This is, even if this armor build was able to stop, completely shut down executioners and howies, this ship has no deflection versus epic cats, has no deflection against hopes, has no deflection against any sort of corrosive turret, any sort of, radioactive turret. It has no deflections against anything else. So this is like what I'm saying. This is not a build to emulate. This is an example build because everything else in your base, because it only has 2 deflection types, so everything else is just going to own it. So I don't know about swinging the pendulum, because even if they covered their base, you know, made it so this met that requirement and stop the damage from those 2 new turrets, everything else in the base would kill it. It would still be, it still would not be a good build by any stretch of the imagination, and it wouldn't be overpowered. So I don't know. Okay. Should we move on, or anybody else got anything on this? Speaking of which, PvP issues. Like we were just discussing, Friday we're going to have a Friday's show. We're going to talk about not only this. This is. I don't love the fact that everything has been. I'm trying to figure out how to say this quickly because this is only a preview, but this is an idea for Friday for people to come on and discuss how they see a better path forward with PvP. Start taking advantage of the range of weapons. Don't make it so, I need to have 7 of some turret to make it useful. This is more about strategic bases, where, something that's snipeable is going to kill you right away. Something that's, this is trying to find some sort of synergy of what's going on as opposed to this straight long range damage that, is basically shut down the base hitting arena. It's dead at this point, unless people are, at least amongst higher level players, hitting higher level players. Higher level players can hit lower level players that don't have all this stuff worked out. But I don't think that's, farming baby seals isn't, I don't know if people find that challenging and enjoyable. So, but we can get more details on this Friday, but basically I'm just trying to set up a structure that would allow for some amount of strategic design of your base, allow for a less swings because you have the ability to place things in certain ways in order to stop incoming fleets and things of that nature. But I don't know. Anybody else have anything on this?
Well, I like a lot of the ideas. I mean, obviously, it's got to be fleshed out a lot more, but I think it's a good start, and would be better than what we have now.
Well, it looks like you're suggesting that they increase the time that you can spend in a base when you've got 10 minutes on time to kill. No.
Time to kill, that's per one turret. So if you have 5 turrets at a range, or 8 turrets at the range of 170 to 200, it's going to kill in a minute and a half. And this is just order of magnitude. This isn't, I don't have the ability to test this stuff out. I'm talking about a single turret would kill a ship in this amount of time. So if you have 5 turrets, the 10-minute, if you have 5 or 8 turrets, it's going to kill it in 2 minutes if it's in that range. So that's more what that's for a single turret. And the other thing that people might not have noticed, the tier bonuses on the right-hand side. Currently, it's 25% per turret, adding to damage. Like the first one is multi-shot, because the assumption would be that this concussive group would do damage up and above deflection, even with a single one. One ship would do that with the right specials and whatnot. But the multi-shot would add more damage, but it would be associated with not overcoming deflection. There would just be additional multi-shots that would do it. Then the second one deals with reload, because I put corrosive and radioactive that add DOT or shockwave that involve the use of stacks. So the more stacks you can get on to get your what do the kids call that when you when you get enough of something going on that causes some secondary thing to happen in the game. But basically, the reload would cause the DOT damage to increase or the shockwave frequency to increase, things like that. This is more just like a rough idea. We'll talk about this in more detail on Friday, but it's just different than what they're doing because, as we've seen, this current model, I don't see that it's working. And they're working in a very difficult environment as far as a deflection only environment where everything's binary. Either you're doing damage
Get rid
or
of
you're
it.
doing
Get rid of it.
what,
Deflection is the
deflection?
biggest mistake ever,
Yep.
and it's always going to be completely and utterly fucked if you use it. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a hard environment for them to work in. I don't know why they chose to use it, and it's going to
Well,
get
the
more
thing
and
is,
more
as well,
difficult.
is that there are certain ships out there that have deflection and resistances as well.
Well,
You know,
how
when
many
it
is there?
started off.
There's the Revenge, right? Is there more than the Revenge?
Yeah, the Revenge has got some deflection, but not a lot. But there's also like bases, defense fleets that have got it as well. But you know what I mean? It's why make everything so complicated? It's just like,
Well, I think they're making it very complicated on their side as well, because as we talked about on the previous slide, as far as they couldn't even figure out the new armor that they released. They obviously missed it on that one.
well, the thing is, mate, the way that I see it personally, and a lot of other people see it, is we started playing this game because it was fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have not got a fucking degree in maths in order to do all of the calculations, or, well, let's be perfectly honest, most of the calculations, but guess some of the rest of it in order to work out what we should be putting stuff on. In the past, everybody understands 89% explosive defense. Everybody understands 92% missile defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't understand. Oh well, if you've got 6 of these Howies in there, or you've got 6 of these missiles, and you've got 4 of these, and this and that, then your fleet's going to be wiped out in 4 seconds. However, if one of them's not there, then you're fine. You can walk straight in there.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. Like, nobody really, unless they spend the time to sit down and do all of these calculations, which is not fun. Let's be fair. It's not a game anymore. It's like fucking work.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, I also mentioned, on the previous slide, the fact that everything that they provide you to do the calculate. Could you go back one slide, Grimace? Okay. To calculate this damage that there's being done, the tier 7 bonus, the number of Howies in the top right that you have, the information that we've been provided on how that damage percentage increases is incorrect. It's shown as being additive as opposed to multiplicative. The same thing is true with the fire support. They're both incorrect. So even if you wanted to have the time and the effort to try and figure all this stuff out, drop into a spreadsheet, and then compare it to whatever builds are coming out, your information is still going to be wrong. And also the way that the critical damage is presented to us is wrong. So all the information we've been provided is false. And that's one big issue. But the fact that
this is basically the most important issue, is that we don't have the correct stats, we don't have the correct information, we don't have any communication from Pixar all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's not like just sometimes we don't have very good communication. It's just constantly we don't have very good communication. And that's the biggest issue that the game's got at the minute.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Just get your head out your ass and just go, look, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? It's not hard to do. Any other business in the world who wants to change something with customers are going to go, right, well, we're looking at changing this. What's your thoughts and stuff like that? And then get a good feedback on it. And before you make the changes, rather than going, oh, we're going to make some changes, or we're thinking about making some changes, ask people. They don't even reply. And then you just apply it anyway. It's just stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back at one point, they had something called the whip, where they would throw out information to players, and players would react like, "This is not a good idea. This is not, you know." And it gave players a chance to react as well, even if it was, you know, painted with a very rosy brush. The way they did it, it would still give them some immediate.
It shouldn't be a whip either. It shouldn't be work in progress. It's work possibly in progress. Should be the way that it should be done, because the way that we've seen things happen recently, like, even if you knew it was in progress, you'd be like, well, let's be honest, that really annoys me. You know, you should be asking people the way that the game should be going, because you've made that much of a cock up of it recently. Like, I have no words, really, to be perfectly honest. And however much I love the game to bits, like, it's really, really starting to grate me now, and I have no interest in doing anything. I have no interest in actually grinding away to catch up anymore. I'm just like starting to feel like everybody else at the minute, going, what is the point? Because I can't keep up with all of these changes with PvP, even by chucking whatever at it. You know, if you're not able to get on the game for the whole of Bounty, you know, you've got to pick these things up here and there, and stuff like this changing, like just literally this armor changing it. If you've missed out on a couple of turrets here and there because you've been working and you haven't been able to pick them up anywhere else, you're screwed. Whereas if you've got them, everybody else is screwed because they can't get in your base. It's ridiculous. You know, there's no kind of middle ground with anything. It's the haves and the have-nots. And the issue that everybody's got at the minute is the fact that, you know, if you're not in the haves and you're in the have-nots, you're fucked. If you're in the haves, you're kind of still a bit fucked because it's boring, because most of the people you actually want to hit, you can't hit anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't make sense what they're doing. It's just ridiculous.
So, a novel idea here. By everybody having the same tech, does that help or hurt?
Research tech, and everybody can just have the same tech, can't they? Yeah. You know,
yeah, but we all have the same tech. So
whatever.
What we do is we watch videos, we talk to people in our alliances, we view the base hits that are performed on us, we see what they have, we mimic it because it works, and then everybody's got the same stuff.
And that's
okay.
That has.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying just the tech.
No. I'm saying that's what's wrong with the game, is the fact that everybody has the same stuff. And I'm not saying the guys at the top should have it all. I'm saying there needs to be a different way that this is introduced, that somebody down below can get a piece of tech that maybe the guy up at the top doesn't have, to bring equilibrium back into the game. Because right now, somebody comes up with a great idea, everybody else copies it, we're at a stalemate. Somebody comes up with a great idea for base defense, everybody else copies it, we're back at a stalemate.
But this is the thing, though, because they introduced deflection. This is the issue with doing it, because it's either all or nothing. This is why they tried with the over damage, which clearly doesn't work. No matter what anybody says, it's just stupid.
No, because everybody copied the idea of, hey, let's put our baser in as our base guard. And you're right back where you were before they brought in over damage.
Exactly. See,
that's what I'm saying. Everybody copies the same idea. I think it needs to go back to where not everybody has the same bit of tech. If you're missing Siege Battery 3, Siege Battery, you know, whatever, oh well, we're going to bring it out at some point, but we just don't know when. It keeps everybody working to get it.
Yeah, but it's not that, though, because people will get bored of trying to work to get it. This is what I'm saying, you know. I mean,
are we not already bored? You just said you were bored, right?
I've worked my ass off, right?
Yeah.
On everything to get back up to date, but
Yeah.
purely because I can't get on, especially when in the UK it's a bank holiday weekend. You know, I'm a chef. I cannot get time off over a bank holiday weekend, which is when the bounty was on. I'm fucking mad busy and I'm working 20 hours a fucking day.
Yeah.
No, I cannot get on to do bounty. So, you know, I ended up having about 6 hours to do bounty, and I managed to get what I could get.
Oh, no, I understand.
That's not my fault. That's not my fault that I can, you know, I would have loved to have played bounty a bit more, but, you know, you're now saying that I'm a complete and utter farm again now because purely because I've not been able to get 2 turrets that, you know, I could have got if I'd have been able to get on and actually do it at the time. You know, stuff like this.
I understand what you're saying, but I think you've missed the point that I'm trying to make.
I don't think they need to limit the tech or try and give tech to people that, you know, to split it up. I think this whole experiment we've been running for the last 2 years where they've divided everything and they're giving us everything as cookie cutters is a complete fail.
Doctor,
it is a complete fail.
I have a question for you. Are you familiar with the term mutually assured destruction?
Yeah.
That is where we are in the game, and that is where we have been in the game. If you know you can't get in the wait, guys, now listen. I got a point. I want to make the point. I don't want an interruption.
Carry on.
If you can't get in a base, why are you going to try to hit that base? If you can't kill a fleet, why will you continue to try to kill that fleet? If everybody has the same tech, which is where we were with the Russians, you know, the Russians could destroy us 300 times over. We could destroy the Russians 300 times over. It keeps you from fighting. It's détente. And that's where we are in the game.
It's not, though. It's not, because there's various ways, if everybody's got the same tech, that people can get in and people can stop people.
When's the last time your base was hit? When's the last time your base was hit?
The trouble comes when there's no balance, because you are either in that camp of have or have not. You can literally walk a base, or you can have a marginal chance of getting into a base, or you can have a fairly good chance of getting into a base, depending on whether right.
When was the last time your base was hit?
Well, today. So, yeah.
How did they do?
Well, I got smashed because I've only got fucking full hours.
Yeah, he doesn't have as much. Yeah, see, that's what we were discussing earlier. You need to have everything in order for it to work. But it's the idea of everybody having the same tech. If it's balanced in a proper way, then you're not automatically getting run over. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It's going to be easier to balance it if you fucking research. If you release it as research tech, it's going to be easier to balance it because everybody's going to have it and everything will be fucking balanced.
It doesn't have to be, research tech, or I don't know if I would have gotten, because they've gotten, when's the last time we had research tech? But yeah, that would be one way to do it. But when's the last time they released something that was relevant, that was research tech, besides the portals? The portal gates.
This is what I'm saying, though.
Or portal traps, whatever they call them.
So nobody's really got anything relevant to do in research tech, have they? So why not release it as research tech, and then everybody can fucking get in on it? And, you know, even if you have stupid times for doing the research tech in order to gain it, so that people have got the advantage if they get it in bounty, it's still, everybody actually feels like they're actually getting somewhere, instead of every week they just think that they're getting further and further behind because they've not been able to get time off work just to do something that you've got to do, or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not the only person that feels like that, because, you know, it seems to me that everybody feels like they've got to be on the game 24/7 just to make sure they don't miss out on something.
Yeah, I mean, can we go forward a slide, Grimace? R2. Let me see. I forgot what okay, let's go back one, and we'll we'll finish up the PvP conversation as far as in generality. The other thing that we want to talk about on Friday is not just the correct information that's provided in your base view, but the what information is provided, so you don't have to do the calculations. And I'll put some sort of straw man thing up there so that we can talk about it on Friday, because the way I look at it, if you look at your turret build view, on the left-hand stuff, you can have all your details. This adds plus whatever and whatnot. But on the right-hand side, where they give you the summary, your stat blocks on the right-hand side, that won't be the first level information that's provided over the left. This will be stuff that's calculated by Kicks. You can double check it, and I'm sure some of it will be what we think it's going to be, or what it might be. But at least it's the first step, preventing people from having to, open up Excel to figure out what they're supposed to build. They can potentially just use a calculator or, a piece of paper, as opposed to having to calculate, 20 different variables to figure out what to fit on something, and can you get into a base or whatnot. Maybe, we step down from, a spreadsheet with, 10, 15, 20 lines down to like, okay, I can do this in the game, and then I can take a calculator out if I want to. Even though the calculator sounds excessive, I know for a lot of people, or you could do the math in your head of figuring out how to move forward and not, I don't know. It's really frustrating, because it's different people come out with different numbers. All the numbers that have been provided by Kicks, not all of them, but most of the numbers in your base are wrong. And that needs to change, because PvP was the part of the game where you knew what your opponent was because they're the same as you. As opposed to PvE, we don't know what the stats are on those things, which I also find frustrating. I wish they would, they would provide like the data mining information. That way we can strategically think about what's going on. Because right now we don't know, the targets we hit. We don't know what percentage is what damage. We don't know if evade's going to matter. You have to spend a lot of time to experiment and figure it out. It's very frustrating. And as the game gets more complex, as it has gotten over the last 8 years, it's just become a wash. You don't know how to figure out how to differentiate stuff. It's become very, very frustrating. But should we move off of this?
Hefe?
Yeah.
Shame on you. How dare you say that we should be strategic thinking in a strategy game?
Yeah. It was a strategy game, but yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah. But it isn't, is it?
Yep. So should we move on? Because this is the conversation we're supposed to be having on Friday. This is just like a little sneak preview. So let's move on to the Achilles. It's nice.
A defense missile. It's not an attack missile.
Yeah. This is what you put on your Warden. I'm not sure how many you need. I didn't run the numbers on that, but it's the over damage numbers. The way they're shown here are a little bit misleading, because it shows the over damage on the Achilles being higher than it is on the Siege Missile. And what we've been told is that for each damage type and salvo, you are going to inflict that over damage. So the fact that the Achilles has a over damage of 680 and the Siege Missile has a over damage of 636 doesn't mean that the over damage on the Achilles is higher, because the Siege Missile
D55X, you've not got an explosive damage on it. Yeah.
You're doing 680 once and 636 twice.
Yeah.
And right, but wait. Can I say something? Because I think this is a screw up on Kick-Size part for their blueprint. Because if you look down at the bottom on the Achilles, it has explosive pass-through added to the damage type. So it's not just penetrating on the Achilles.
No.
That's defensive. That's defensive.
The explosive deflection that it adds.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the way. That is what that means, and they never explained it, but yeah. But the really good side of the Achilles is if you put it on your Warden or something of that nature in your base, is that you can get up to a 75% slowdown on incoming ships. Because I don't know why you would want to slow down unless somebody's driving like a motherfucker. I don't know why you would want this on a Conqueror Hall when you're attacking. It's 5% per hit, and this works like the lockdown rocket. It's not like an aura-based thing, so the field extinguisher is not going to work. I think the only thing that works is unreactive. I think unreactive works against this type of special ability.
What about agility 4?
Well, I guess it does stop slowdown. So would that work? I mean, we have to. You would think reading the blueprints, but as we've been talking about,
again, more questions than answers. No, nothing coming from Kicks. Hey, try this. It gets worse. Wait till you get onto the siege. I mean, the splash, whatever it is.
No, well, if you read the flavor text on that one, it explains it. Hopefully, it works the way it's supposed to. But let's go on to the assault mortar. No, I've already circled that one. This one's odd. I don't quite understand how this one's going to work. It doesn't do. It's got one's one salvo. The assault mortar is one salvo versus 2, but we're not breaking through anybody's deflection at this point, so it doesn't really matter. And again, we have the overdamage thing where it's 636 versus 760 because the 2 salvos is. Yeah, the salvo. That's the firefield thing's big, but I mean, as far as the overdamage, even though the number is 760, I'm just reiterating what we just said, but 760 on the left-hand side, single salvo, right-hand side, 636, double salvo. So that means you're going to be doing 636 twice as opposed to 760 once. But the fire field is interesting. I want to see how it's going to work, and because the explosive deflection debuff.
Well, you got to think as well, though, that you've already got the counter to this already as well, because you've got the field extinguisher. So it's kind of like this should have been released last FM, not this FM, kind of thing. Because really, I mean, it's kind of useless if they've got a field extinguisher. I don't understand the way that they've been releasing stuff and the order that they've been releasing stuff in recently. It's kind of like it's like they just really want to piss people off. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what their intention is. I don't know. I guess we can move on. This one's not. I wouldn't put this one on my high list to get. SB1 splash buffer. Same weight as the kinetic buffer that slows down projectiles, and the same basic numbers. On the right-hand side, there's things that are missing from the stat block, but if you read the flavor text, it generates a field which reduces the splash potential of projectiles launched from halls within range. When equipped to the outpost, this field loses some potency, but extends the cover to the Empire base. So if you put this on a warehouse, it's heavy, or a lab. You can't put this on a resource generator or anything like that because it's too heavy to do that. If the ship is within 150 range, you will lose 90% splash potential. So I think you lose 70% of splash damage, and anything that's mortar, anything that has splash only does splash damage. It doesn't, even if it hits you directly, you're just taking splash damage. So, but as far as sloths go, yeah, if a sloth is going to get within 150 range, somebody's not doing something correctly.
Well, now, can this? My question is will say you put this on your outpost, right, and get the 35% splash across the whole board, right? And then say, you know, a lot of people still have a warehouse or two sitting right up front. So say you got a warehouse up front that's got this on there too. Will it stack and then give you the pretty much almost 100%?
Well, yeah, until it dies. Until it dies, and then the effect dies with it.
So that means that your turrets would be suffering no damage at all from morts.
Well, but the ship has to be within 150 range. So think about sloths. They're not going to be that close. They're going to be further back, so it's not even going to affect their splash.
No.
Well, no. Now think about this, though, because here's what I'm pointing at. If you got this on the outside of your island, the side they're trying to hit is going to be within 150 range to the battle map, to the edge of the battle map. So if you got one on your outpost and one sitting on a warehouse right, right at the very front of your entrance, when they try and come in to hit that front patch, those sloths are going to be in range because the battle map
only lasts as long as the building's alive.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that you're not getting is part of this. This has been shown with other things. With splash dispersion, it's calculated the same way that resistances are. So it's diminishing returns. So if you had 35%, then it's 75% of, or 70% of 65. So you're not going to get over 100. If I heard you correctly.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not going to get to 105%. So unless they've really messed up again.
It'd be nice if mortars come in and it added health.
Yeah, yes. The healing mortars.
Yeah. Healing mortars would be great.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll put that in the next update after they heard that here.
Oh,
all right, let's move on to the next one. I like this one. This is actually my number one priority of the FM stuff.
Well, it's going to be because obviously we know that we're going to have the Impact Cruiser coming out for Bounty 10, so which is an SCX variant.
Yeah, and yeah, you can stack this on the Outpost, Naval Lab, and Advanced Lab. The Advanced Lab has the ability to carry 2 specials. Naval Lab, I think, is only 1, if I'm correct. So if you put a combination of the explosive overlay, the penetrative overlay, and the ballistic overlay, it's really going to slow the incoming ships down quite significantly. And it's not as heavy. This is only 500, not 2,000 like the last one. So you can put it on smaller things as well. But you're only going to get 20% from that. But it might be worth it, but we'll have to see how punishing the next turret is. Or I'm sorry, the Impact Cruiser. But yeah, I would get this first, personally, before people start building the Impact Cruiser after the next bounty.
You know what I'm wondering? Because Kixeye seems to be bringing out the nerf before they even bring out the new item here lately. Could that new armor for ships and this right here be the nerf for the ship that we're supposed to be winning in the bounty?
They're both on opposite sides, so I mean,
the one gives heavy ballistic. If you put that on your guard fleet, and then you put this on your for your turret protection. Aren't you significantly reducing the amount of effectiveness that the new ship we're supposed to win in bounty is going to have?
Yeah, but they did the same thing with the penetrative overlay. If you put the right build together, it's really hard to kill an outpost with an MSC if you have penetrative overlay on all those 3 things that add 50%. But now they've made it much more difficult because now you only got a certain number of slots for ballistic, penetrative, and explosive. So they're getting closer to their balance point, I guess. So So I don't know, but you know, I would, like I said, I would get this one first, but that's just me. All right, next slide. Oh no, Mercenary. Oh, maybe I should go get a beer before this. Does anybody want to? Does anybody want to discuss their experiences and generally in Mercenary, and then we'll get into some of the details I have in the next slide while I get a beer. Or nobody wants to talk about Mercenary. or I need to be here with mute button.
Yeah.
It sucked. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Well, I mean, TFC went for like 48 minutes on this last night. And I can't get 30 seconds out, or 2 minutes out of you guys so I can go get a beer.
Well, go get your beer. I'm certain we can talk about how crappy kicks I did us in this because the damage was
whoa. Okay. All right.
You know what I mean?
Back in a minute. I'll be back in a minute.
I know that a lot of the non-coiners and the mid-coiners struggled real bad in this raid, because they had the super long repair times on fleet that should have been able to do these targets, But Kixeye also gave the finger really hard to all the freaking whales. We spent money to have these stupid fleets on the fucking water, and then they were useless. Unless you spent money and refit the whole damn fleet over to the missile. And I wasn't willing to do it. So, my raid, 90 million points. I was done. That was it. I walked away from the game. This is the first raid in, 5 years that I haven't dumped money into it and gotten all the prizes that were available. You know what I mean?
Yep. I was right there with you. I slow repaired the whole time, and aside from one instance when my fleet did not repair, it was all slow repairs the whole way through, and that one was $1, 10 coins, whatever. I did that to get my final prize, or I wouldn't have gotten it, period. But that's all they got out of me. It was bad. And that was all. That wasn't even my own money. That was stuff they given me for glitches and crap like that too.
See, I was all excited, because I always get all the prizes in the raid. And then I read in the thing that they were putting the target back out on the map. The target back out on the map. For me, that was great, because I've mercenaried half the freaking time I played this game. I've prepped targets for other players, And so I'm like, oh yeah, back to prepping S sets for people, rocking out. I had planned to jam this whole freaking weekend, the whole raid weekend I had planned for Battle Pirates.
Yep.
And then boom, first target. I knew it was over. That was it. I wasn't doing it.
I will say, I enjoyed my weekend. I actually got outside, got a bunch of stuff done around here, and did other things. It was kind of refreshing. So I wasn't really too mad about it. It's making it easier to walk away from the game for me. Anybody else?
Yeah. Damage way too high. Point payout versus damage, stupid. Complete and utter dickheads for not making it available for people to grind fleets out in order to get the Manticore. You just shooting yourself in the foot, really. It's just like, really, you want everybody to build Manticores, but then you're not going to let them actually get them.
And why was the CAC in the lock store?
Yeah, where was the missile CIC in the lock store? I take it you're on about.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't need it, but there were a lot of players that did, and they couldn't get to it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. See, you can't. If you'd have allowed people to grind stuff with the older tech, do like 41s and 60s and stuff like that for a reasonable amount, people would have got the manticores and they would have built them, and you know, probably quite a lot of them might have coined them. But when you expected them to spend, I mean, I worked it out with the damage. This is the funniest thing in the world is if I'd have done the raid in order to gain the points that I needed just to get the manticore, just to get the flagship, so the 50 million points with the latest and greatest tech, i.e. 4 fully built, fully armored, fully ranked manticores. If I'd done 60 sets, would have cost me 700 coins just to get the flagship. You telling me that there's not something wrong there? That's just stupid.
And then they dropped the generic ship build tokens everybody was hoping for to finish off their builds.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even that, is it? You know, make sure you've got fucking manticore tokens in there, even if they are just for manticores. You know, but any ship build tokens, just generic ship build tokens, would have been good, because people could have. We've not seen the targets. People just got pissed off because they went, oh, well, yeah, you know, the damage is quite high. If they would have been able to get reasonably priced generic ship build tokens, just to do couple of little tweaks, all right, they would have taken that hard damage at the beginning in order to refit their ships.
Yeah, they would have.
Yeah, and then they would have been happy. But no, you know, I don't understand their fucking mentality. It's just ridiculous. It seems like they just go, well, yeah, we'll just do this. And then they just like ignore everything that anybody ever says. Stupid.
And 8 million points for a freaking 1-day ship build token?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was stupid as well.
You know, I think what's happened here is they've set a goalpost that they want us to get X amount of points. And now that they're not doing these charged armors that we were paying 8 and 10 million points for a piece, they're raising the prices on everything else to try and get us back up to that point threshold they expect us to hit.
But that's not going to work, because people are not going to spend. Right. I mean, the first target that I hit cost me like 17 coins until I worked it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that automatically straight away pissed me off, because even if I'd have done that last raid, it would have cost me what? Right, fucking 10 coins. Right. So with the increased cost because of the fucking armor and everything else, that pissed me off straight away initially. That it was just a stupid repair, 17 coin repair for the first target that I hit, just so I could actually see the fucking top end target. You know, so you know that pissed me off to start off with, and then you know it got down to the point where I tried a couple more, and you know my driving was perfect and everything else, and then it's still like an 8 coin repair with the top fleet fully ranked, fully armored, 4 of. You know, an 8 coin repair is ridiculous for the first raid as well. I'm like that. Well, all right, I've got the fleet in the flagship in cooking now. That ain't going to make any difference really to the amount of repair that I'm going to take, because it's another ship to repair. And you kind of thinking to yourself, really, it's, you know, there's every single raid in this cycle there's going to be an escalation in damage that you're going to receive, and if this is the start of it, and you're receiving 8 coins worth of damage for doing an S set target, I just won't hit them. and I just probably won't even do the fucking raids because what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, well, let's go to the next slide, Grimace, where I can talk, we'll provide some more detail as far as what's going on with the raid. You guys put your thoughts. These are just sort of my thoughts as far as what went on there. I really hated the fact that there was no target in the TLC prior, so we didn't have any idea what we were hitting. We didn't even get the ability for the people that are able to go and test to do like a live stream of them. I mean, maybe they were only finished hours before. Targets, like you mentioned, the targets are overly punitive, and I have no idea what's going on with the countermeasures. I mean, what's the best one? The sprints? Is that
Sprints
even though it doesn't
better
make
than phalanxes against missiles, apparently.
Yeah, they seem to be working better.
But why? It doesn't reflect. I can't figure out why, according to anything in the blueprint, that makes sense.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. My experience in the raid was it seemed to be flipping. Like one day it was the phalanx that was working better, and the next day it was the sprint that was working better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one of my mates in my alliance. They had switchblades, and they were working better than any of them.
Yeah, it's
well, and it kind of varied, like you were saying, Dr. Death. From like it seemed like sometimes targets you would go in and they would miss almost everything, and then the next target you'd go in, they would shoot, a lot of things down compared to, or at least not the special weapons because they can't touch those. But it was very inconsistent. And I mean, I know there's going to be a little bit of that variation in there because of the nature of countermeasures and stuff and the evasion and everything, but it was extreme, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we haven't had any communication from Kixeye regarding this raid. We'll get into that a little bit later, but there's not been any communication as far as, because right now players they've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, are the Katie's still going to be that great in the next raid? Or should I strip off my my phalanxes for either some other countermeasure? I don't know. I mean, were these mistakes? Because like we've seen, they make mistakes multiple times per day. And are we being too reactionary if we decide, okay, well, if that didn't work in this raid, this is the way it's going to happen? Where are they going to fix it? Should I go out and build a Katie's? I don't know. I mean, because the Manicore was sold as the weapon that the ship that we're supposed to use, but it obviously was not even close to the best one. So I just wish we had more communication. Which Earth brought up earlier, and I think I think everybody's brought up the lack of communication in general, but it's especially associated with this raid.
Well, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second because, I really think that the Katie's, the way it performed in the raid, is the way it should have performed in the raid. If you spent the freaking money, if you spent the time to build that piece of junk, then it should be working great. Yeah. But my tinfoil hat is saying that next raid is going to be useless. The Kixeye watched that and said, "Oh, wait a second, they were doing the raid for free. We can't have that."
Yeah, they'll add in some sort of countermeasures, like they added into the some of the previous TLCs we've seen, where where they'll shoot at UAVs but not at missiles, or that mechanic has already been shown because of the discrepancy between the way Skyfire's worked and the way Phoenix's worked in the Scorpion's Sting, or I forget what it's called. But in that TLC,
a lot of that as well, though, is down to projectile speed.
No, they have the same projectile. The projectile speed is.
Yeah, but you can't increase the projectile speed on UAVs. You can on missiles. That's what I'm saying. You can to a certain extent, but you can't increase it as much as you can with missiles.
Okay, because they both start off with the same base projectile speed, and I don't know if that's related.
Isn't projectile speed a generic stat?
Yeah.
So that's fall into the same category as like the siege battery, the building damage stat, right?
Yeah. I think they weren't even aiming at the. I don't know. It's hard to tell. They haven't communicated regarding this, but it was. Yeah, it was odd the way it worked out. The essentially invisible enemy projectiles. And it seemed that every ship, it was hard to determine, but it seemed like every ship had a hidden scatter gun. Some people chose to kite them. As long as you kept moving, you would see it's a Salvo 3. And I'm not sure where
you could outrange them with Manticores with scatter guns on anyway.
Yeah, but if you kept moving too, their projectile speed would cause them to land quite a bit behind you. And how to Salvo 3, you could see 3 little splashes behind you.
Yeah,
if
but you could also.
Moving.
What I was going to say was that the issue came with the fact that you'd be there and you'd be outranging the turrets, and then what seemed to happen is if you targeted a specific turret and the boat moved, even though you'd stopped outside of that range, if you moved then to come up to the point at where you were hitting the ship again, so like as it moved, it just slightly moved out of range, and you'd move up towards it, where you'd targeted, for example, the scattergun turret on the ship. If it had moved that little bit from where you'd stopped, and you moved in towards it, it seemed to fire from its original spot, so that you ended up getting damage from that way as well, which was kind of odd.
Yeah, the invisible scatter turrets it looked like the same or maybe 1 or 2 range short of what the scatter Manticore was. So unless you were kiting like absolutely perfectly, you were going to get shot at.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I watched your videos where you were trying to kite them. I just kept on moving perpendicular to the path of the oncoming ship, and I would see them just splash. Like 3 little dots splash behind me. Maybe there was more than 3, but it always seemed like 3 would miss me as long as I kept on moving perpendicular to them.
No, it was a clusterfuck.
Yeah, and who's got the TV on? Is that you, George?
I got it. Go ahead.
Okay. And then the odd damage distribution. There was. Did anybody else notice that you took way more damage on ship number 1 than you did on any other ship?
Yes, often.
Yeah, it was. I guess there's a strategy associated with that, but you could hit a target, go back to your base, and
cycle,
pick number 1 and cycle them out. I'm not sure that's fun or anything like that, but that's
I did cycle every once in a while if I wanted to do several at a time and then go back in. The problem that I'm still livid that my fucking auto hull had to be driven like a skill hull and like a second rate one at that.
But no benefit.
Yeah, no benefit for driving like that other than not getting 5 to 6 hours of damage on it.
Yep.
Well, it's like the way that I was doing it with the grease monkey, and I was down to, if I was driving it, it was 4 coin repair. If I autoed it, it was 7. So that's a massive difference at normal repair if you've not got grease monkeys on.
Without a grease monkey, I think my best time, without anything at all, my best time was an hour and like 35 minutes, right? I was routinely taking, with a pinch and a regular crew, I was taking about 140 to 150, right?
Yeah.
If I autoed the bitch, it was fucking stupid. It was like 10 to 12 coin or some shit. Like I did it twice, exactly. And that was it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were driving it and you'd use a pinch, it was 4 coins. If with a grease monkey, if It was 3
that was
coins
without-
more
that was
if you
without a
altered
grease
it. So that's an extra 6 coin if you altered the target.
Yeah,
That's
no, that was
the
without
auto hull.
that was without the grease monkey. It was 4 coins for me, and it was on auto up to I think 12. I think was the worst one for auto.
Yeah.
So it went from 4 max to 12. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
You know, I agree with you that the auto hull should have been autoable. But here's the other
Yes.
the other thing that pisses me off is the people that had the Manticore for this raid went out last raid and spent all that extra time to make certain they got the ship. And by getting the ship early, we were supposed to be a step up.
Oh, I'll do you one better. What about the people that actually coined to have 4 out instead of paying up front and having an easy raid?
Yeah,
they
we
had to
were,
pay
we
on
were
the
just
front end and the
dumbasses.
back end.
I'll say it. I was a dumbass because I had 4 out with all the armors and all the weapons.
Yeah, so did I. So did I. And because of the choice that I made with my armor, and because there was no tokens, and I refused to coin the change to it, I just done it for out of all right, fair enough. I done a couple of targets for people, and said, "You're going to cover my repairs, then I don't mind doing the targets for you," but I wasn't spending out of my money to change my fleet in order to do that after I've just spent God knows how long building it and ranking it and armoring it all up and everything else.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm building the Cadies next. I'm gonna get that flagship out, and I'll probably eventually have before the next raid, I'll have like a full set for the scatter hull. But I'm gonna be dumping everything I got into building the Cadies. Fuck it.
And then when the Cadies is countered,
and I'll probably be deciding whether I want to walk away.
Yeah, because we haven't heard from them recently. As far as we haven't heard anything regarding their reaction.
What I find most annoying is the fact that we haven't heard jack shit from them, and there's like a fucking 100-page thread on there of complaints about the raid, and not literally nothing from them. That's just appalling, in my opinion, and that's what annoys me more than anything else, really.
Hey, but they're listening to us. Remember, that's the thing we always get. Players, we've heard you.
No, they didn't do that this raid, though. Did they?
They just didn't say anything.
Well, I mean,
whether that's because they know that they've fucked.
Well, they've told us enough that they're listening to us. We're supposed to know that by now. Come on.
Yeah, whatever. They know what they're doing. I think I'm going to move on to the next one. Excessive point requirements. 4,500 people had the points for the flagship. Around 2,000 players had points for the flagship and 2 Howies.
And just remember, here's the thing too. Just remember that some of those 4,400 players were, scrapping away so they could get the mana core. And tech.
Yeah. Also, what I want to add as well is that I ended up finishing 2,228. Right, and I got the flagship 2 Howies, and I got like enough to get another flagship if I wanted to. I think.
Yeah, and some of them could have got 5 dragon tokens too. Dragon tokens, or bought a shitload of uranium or titanium. There's possibilities.
If they really wanted to, because they could buy it in 2 places and everything.
Yeah, that was fascinating. This is, that was the high point of the raid. Everybody wanted to be able to buy titanium in all sorts of places. And it was lower participation relative to just the last raid. It was about 40 to 45% of the players achieved 10 million relative to the previous raid. 30 to 35% achieved 50 million relative to the previous raid. And you don't even want to know the numbers at 500 million. I think I talked to you about was it 1% or 10? I think it was 1%. of the players.
It was 1%, but it was probably there was only about 5 players at that, really.
I think it was 27 players. I forget it was really ridiculous the number of people that got 500 million. It was it was it wasn't everybody on the global leaderboard. And then the news around town is I don't think this is this raid was the reason he quit, but Larry's left the game because it's not as enjoyable as the game he's been playing for years and years and years.
I think the raid was just probably broke the camel's back for him.
It's not as enjoyable as sticking your cock in a fucking vat of acid at the minute, is it? So
I've never really gone through that experience. Yeah. But no, I don't know. I think I think Dr. Death was right. This was probably one of the issues associated with it, and it was probably the final straw. I don't know. He's not one of those players that has quit multiple times, so I put the whether he comes back, even if they massively change things, I don't know that he will come back. I don't want to project on his thoughts, but
I don't think he will unless something massive changes. Personally, but I mean, for somebody who's been involved with the game for so long, done so much for so many people, and provided such a great service to the community. For someone like that, he's spent a lot of time over the last 7 years of playing, been devoted to the game and to the community. For someone like that to leave the game is a massive thing, in my opinion, and it should wake KIXEYE up and and get them thinking about why are people like this that have been so much involved in the game to such a great extent actually leaving the game, and actually go, we're actually doing something really fucking wrong here. Maybe we should actually start listening to people properly rather than saying, yeah, we'll listen and then just carry on doing what we're doing anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he's done a lot to help people, between his testing and communicating the mechanics of the game to the community at large, either through his blog or through this show. He's done a huge amount, and he's got a fairly thick skin because a lot of people have quit and come back and quit and come back. He hasn't done that, and it has to be pretty dire, I think, at this point for him to just want to walk away. It's I mean, personally, I haven't quit. I've been playing longer than I'm the longest continuous player of the game, but I haven't quit, and I won't come back if I quit. I mean, personally, and I have a hard time at this point, like just dealing with I don't even consider it greed on some of these things. I just consider it buffoonery. I mean, some of the things, buffoonery, or just, they're just incompetent on some of these things. I mean, some of them I can understand as greed, but some of them I'm like, like what happened with PvP. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You guys can make a lot more money if you change that armor slot. If you change that armor, you would have a lot more people happy with you and willing to coin. But it's like we're not, And then we had everything that happened today and yesterday. We don't test things. We just throw everything out there. I mean, it's not. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't feel to be even greed. It just feels to be laziness. I don't know.
No. I think it's a dump. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that what KIXEYE is doing, because we've heard from KIXEYE over the last couple of years that everybody that's been working on the game has their own little side projects and this and that going on, right? And I think that tinfoil hat, you know, I'm famous for it, but I think the game is on its last legs, and I think Kixeye is just dumping anything and everything that someone's come up with into the game now, hoping that, hey, this is going to draw some coin, this is going to draw some coin, before they just shut it down. Because
they wouldn't convert. They wouldn't, if that was their intent, they wouldn't convert to HTML5.
Hang on.
I just want to believe that they're actually doing that.
Here's the thing, right?
I know they're doing that.
People to spend money, make it fucking fun again. It's not hard.
No shit. And you know what? That's
chores, make it actually fun, and make it stop costing you an absolute arm and leg just to do the basic shit that you need to do. People will fucking spend money if they're having fun, right?
Yeah. Well, see,
and that's the thing. That's the thing that Larry said.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Because then
that's the thing that Larry said so succinctly on the blog. He literally just was like, "It's been fun. Now it isn't. I'm done." I mean, you can't get it any clearer than that. That sums everything up.
It's simple enough. When you're trying to squeeze people in the FM and for all of the chores and shit like that, because now you can't do base parts for free. You can't. Well, you won't be when they change the targets over, right? So you won't be able to do that for free. You know, if titanium, all right, for a minute, but when they change it over to this format, it's going to cost you out the ass as well. It's like
have you thought about those targets coming out to the map?
Get really bad repairs on just general shit that you need to do every day. That's not fun. People won't do it. The amount of people that I know that are mega coiners are going to go, who've turned around and said, yeah, fuck that, I'm not spending on doing chores. Why would you? Why would you pay out the ass to do something that you really hate in the first place anyway? But it's just part of life. It's stupid, you know? And as soon as you start messing around with doing stuff to the FM and you go, yeah, build this awesome new ship, get rid of your IBs and get rid of your monos, build this awesome new Inferno Dragon fleet, it's going to be awesome. And then you lock it out so that you can't do lower level targets for free either. So now you have to rebuild IBs or monos if you've got rid of them, if you want to like grind it out, but not grind it. And otherwise you've got to pay out the ass for just doing the FM is ridiculous. And that's what pisses people off. And all right, you might have a few people that are quite willing to do that, but tell you what, 90% of them aren't. And by doing it, you're pissing off 90% of people all of the time. And every time you do something and add in that little bit of extra grind or extra trying to get that, extract that little extra dollar here and there, is when you piss people off and why they stop spending and why they don't spend more than what they're spending now.
Yeah,
because they get pissed off trying to grab it at every opportunity.
In 2017, we had a lot of nickel and diamond come from the company, and it eventually, burnt them in the ass. And now it seems like they're trying to start doing that again. And I mean, we've done this before. We've gone down this path several times, and every single time that they try and do this shit, it bites them in the ass.
It results in a mass exodus, is what basically happens, and you get less and less players, and then it puts more of a squeeze on Kixeye, and then they try and put more of a squeeze on you, and then it ends up in more players leaving again.
But, yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. The fact that they put a squeeze on PvE because they fucked up PvP, and they don't. I don't think they have a solution the way that they've been performing recently on how to fix PvP.
I think looking at the way the path has been coming out, like I really do think that they have a plan. I think that whatever the original plan was got messed up somewhere, or the timetable got fucked or something, because eventually we're gonna get to the point where it's like, you're gonna have to start picking which turrets, and you're gonna have to pick which boats and blah blah blah, and that's where we should have been in like fucking February, not June, July? Because I'm guessing it's going to be June, July.
Grimace, do you want to click one more time? And we'll talk about that on Friday because I don't think it's going to work. But yeah, they have not listened, despite 3.5 thousand responses to the discussion thread related to the raid. There has not been a response from Kixeye as far as this was intentional. This is a path forward. This is whatever.
I wonder if that counts the ones that were deleted too.
I'm not certain how that number works,
And
but yeah.
I think the first 8 pages of that too were just the update itself, and then they merged all the raid stuff into that. So it was a little bit less than that, but not much.
Okay, it was 4.4 thousand. But the lack of response, I find to be
troublesome.
Troublesome,
Or troubling, I should say.
Yeah, and I only have one explanation for that. If Grimace, you want to click one more time. So, Kixeye is not allowed to talk about whatever's going on with this raid. I mean, that's all I can think.
I mean, I wonder if they even understand what happened because, how do you fuck up the skill hull? I mean, the auto hull that badly? I mean, really, how do you mess that up? Because it's really easy to test. You just click on the fucking target and wait and see what happens when it comes out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing special there. Click on the target, let it hit, and see what happens when it comes out. Real simple.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the lack,
and it's not even as if it's hard then to the only thing you need to balance is the auto hull, right? Because the skill hull, the range of it, so you know that your range for your weapons for the other hull, that your target needs to be, within 1% or 2% of it, right?
Well, no, wait. Now, see, here's where the problem runs in. Okay, we had this problem way back when we had the skill and auto hole and one target before, and then to fix the problem so that we could have auto holes is when Kixeye went to the 2 different targets, making one dedicated just for an auto hole. Now we're back to just one target, and once again we're back to auto holes not working. Kixeye does not know how to adjust a target where it can be hit by either or and still make money off it.
Oh, it's easy. Honestly, I don't buy that. I think it's easy enough to. Yeah, I think it's easy enough to.
I was trying to explain exactly how easy it's done. You tune it to the auto hull, right, and then so that basically, no matter what, is going to take X amount of damage. For example, 1 coin's worth of damage, yeah, and then you just change it so that the skill hull, they still get damage from the missiles, which they can't outrange, and then you have a missile that that then is slightly lower than the maximum range, and so they've got to use their skill and ingenuity to actually hit the target, but does a bigger amount of damage, equal to that of what the auto hull is receiving. It's not hard, is it?
So I think we're going to wind up the live broadcast. I put the link out there in case anybody'd like to join us. Anybody have any? Because we have been going an hour 45 on the Wednesday show, which is a bit excessive, but I think it's worth it. Does anybody have anything to end with?
No, I think George hates people.
Yeah. Well, I think George, whatever. But I was just thinking, but I'm just thinking we can go to the after show and everybody show up on the Friday show, because we're going to talk about, some of the ideas to try and fix PvP and see not what I think, but what other people think
get rid of deflection, get rid of high numbers and stupidness, and it's all there. Take it back to what it used to be. Easy enough.
Yeah.
People don't understand it enough. One, people don't understand it enough. It's too complicated. It's either all or nothing. It was a lot easier to balance when it was just resistances, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not certain, but I think George said he's changing his avatar to this guy. I'm not certain on this, but it's a possibility.
I thought this was going to be Kick-Side's new emblem.
Well, we have to get some buy-in from them, but you know, the possibility that George uses this as his new avatar in the game would be fascinating. But you know, I only say that because you know George left right before the show ended. But you know, I don't think he would actually do that. But we'll see. But feel free to join us in the after show and show up on Friday, and because we're going to talk about PvP because VXP weekend is going to be the same as last time. So the time limited campaigns are the same. So there's not much more to talk about than all the stuff that they've, however you want to put it, what they've done to PvP over the last month and last several months. And we'll have some, you know, some different guests that pop in. It's still an open mic, but we'll have some different guests than we normally do associated with that. And I guess everybody have a good night, and you know, and cheers to Larry. You know, have a
miss you, Larry.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you, buddy.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.